Hello and welcome to the WNBA edition of the Super Show. I am your host, Walter Waddell, aka Deuce85. I'm joined as always by my main man, Pete, man of many sports. I just slid in here a little bit late from work, so I appreciate you guys joining us here. It's a little bit late. We have a 4-game slate to break down for you. We're riding on the showdown right now. The Storm are looking pretty bad, but that's okay. 4-game slate with some very good matchups. So we should be able to do quite well. Some big tournaments tomorrow too. I think there's a 5K to first on DraftKings. So, there's been some complaints about the contest size and whatnot, but actually it's a 10K to first. So a big prize. Pete, how are you this evening?
Not doing bad. So hanging in there, busy. So with MLB, it's nice though to get a 4-game slate here tomorrow for WNBA. So got used to it last year with the bubble game. Seemed like there was games every day, right? But it's good though. Good way to start off the weekend.
Yeah, they were burning out last year because of that multiple games, and so now it seems like on every Friday we'll have a 4-gamer. Because Brooklyn is their playoff series, they're going to be taking the court from the Liberty on Tuesday, so there is going to be a 4-game slate on Monday as well because the Liberty are now going to be playing the Wings on Monday instead of Tuesday. So we've got a couple big slates here in the next couple of days. We certainly need to take advantage of them. If you guys are watching us live, feel free to pop in the live chat to the right there on YouTube. Ask those questions if you got them. There's no prize picks up yet, so we won't be talking about that tonight. We've been crushing the WNBA prize picks. We're 17-3 right now, so we're feeling pretty good about that. But let's just jump right in here. Don't have odds either, so bear with us. But we have stats. Atlanta versus Indiana, 2 of the bottom feeder teams. The Fever are 0-3. The Dream are 0-2, so somebody's going to get their first win here. If I had to pick, I'd say it's the Dream, but they look really bad. They got just stomped on by the shorthanded Chicago Sky yesterday, and they looked very, very bad. Indiana's also looked quite bad. So for this game, you're definitely going to want to target somebody here. Both teams, they have a strong lack of defense. One thing for Atlanta is Tiffany Hayes did come back. She cleared her protocol after opting out last year. She did play 26 minutes. She was immediately put into the starting lineup. She's only 6K on DraftKings after 5-1. She didn't look that good. She had 5 fouls in that time. She shot 1 for 10. Definitely a lot of rust. The nice thing, though, is she did take 10 shots. She had 3 steals, a couple of assists and blocks. Did have 5 points. So not the best game for her, but she's still 6K. I expect the rust to be shaken off here, especially against a team like the Fever, who all season long, short sample, just 3 games, has really struggled to defend guards. She does play more of the wing, but she brings the ball up a lot too. So Tiffany Hayes at 6K is somebody that we definitely want to consider, especially since she's going to likely start and see close to 30 minutes. Pay-ups, Courtney Williams is 10-2. She had 45 yesterday. She's been playing roughly 37, 36 minutes a game so far. She's taken actually 33 shots in 2 games. So even with Hayes back, she's really having to demand the ball a lot. Kennedy Carter's having a lot of foul issues early on. The bigs are giving the Dream absolutely nothing. So she's a very good GPP play. A lot of people are going to, ignore her at the 10-2 price, but she continues to put up 30 plus fantasy points dating back to last year as well. So definitely somebody to look at. I believe they'll still be without Cheyenne Parker, their big acquisition. They'll be a lot better when they have her. As far as like their bigs, Elizabeth Williams, Tiana Hawkins, Mo Billings, they all cannibalize each other. None of them are in play. It was surprising yesterday to see Crystal Bradford she played 18, 19 minutes and had almost 30 fantasy points. Granted, 4 of those were steals, so 8 points from the steals. But somebody who they did talk about potentially playing more minutes. The Dream are a very deep team, so it makes it hard for me to want to, be stacking them up or anything like that. But it is one of the better matchups on the slate because of how bad these teams are. So for me, it's probably Tiffany Hayes, and that's most likely it. Anybody on the Atlanta side that's sticking out to you, Pete, or that you feel is a contrarian or somebody you must play?
Yeah, I agree with the Tiffany Hayes deal. I just had her price up. What's Tiffany Hayes' price? 6,000. I'm sorry. Yeah, and I think that last game she was rusty. We all know that, but she's been back a few days now, right? There's obviously no restrictions. Everybody's talking about how, her energy was there. Her just having her leadership back makes a big difference. And she's providing a big boost. She's she's definitely going to give a different aspect that they're not used to now. So I think it's going to be. It's actually going to be a different look because I mean she's 5'10". I mean Atlanta's got that deep backcourt. They got Kennedy Carter, Odyssey Wim, Sims, McDonald, Courtney Williams. They're loaded with all these small ball handlers, but Hayes provides these people a different look now with her size. So I think Hayes is actually going to be a big play, 6K. I don't think he's going to be that high owned either. So Hayes is my top play there. I also like Kennedy Carter, of course, at 8-7 for Atlanta.
Yeah, they're super deep. Carter's a great GBP play along with Courtney. Nice thing is both these teams, as we mentioned, their defense are non-existent. They're third and fourth in the league for giving up points. So not good. Both are giving up almost 85 points per game. Granted, it's been in 5 total games, 3 and 2 for each, but they're giving up a lot. So there should be a lot of points scored here. Going over to the Indiana side, with Atlanta, they're getting some bodies back. Tiara McCowan's there at 10K. You really can't play her. She's just a pretty big fade. I know the first game she had 47, but she's been hovering around 26.5 ever since. So 10K is probably priced out for me, even with Parker not available for Atlanta just yet. Danielle Robinson has really been the most consistent option for Indiana. She's been over 20 fantasy points in 3 straight, still priced at around 7-1. She's been hovering in that late 6, early 7K range. So she's there if you need her. Tough part is on DK, the guard spots are so valuable. You get 2 of them plus in a utility, so 3 really. And they don't even have Hayes at a forward, which really that burns a guard spot for you. She really should be a small forward on here, and she's not. So it's hard to play Robinson, even though she's been playing, really well. I just can't afford to give up one of my guard spots to her. So she's there if you need her. I did try Jantel Lavender the other day, it was yesterday, and she only had 7.5 points after having back-to-back 20. So I'm probably going to be the fish and jump off and jump on, jump off. And I'm just kind of done with the Indiana right here as far as their bigs. I do kind of, as I say that though, I do kind of like Bernadette Hattar, who is the second tallest WNBA player in history. There was a 7'2" player at one time, believe it or not, but she did play 19 minutes in her first game. And she looked pretty solid. She had 14 fantasy points, 6 points, 5 rebounds, and assists. You definitely want more, but at 5'1", that is a good value price. We're rarely going to get these, aerial powers at 3'7" very often. We got that gift 2 times from DK. Not going to get that as the season gets along here. So 5K really is value. So you can certainly use her. I generally like to use my value spots at forward because forward's usually a little bit more of a yuckier spot, if you will. So at 5'1", I think she's going to continue to play 20 minutes. McCowan really can't continue to play 30. She's not fast enough. The Dream like to push the pace. We saw in a fast pace against Liberty in that first game, McCowan was just getting every rebound on offense, but she was gassed. In the second game, it was very obvious that she was gassed there. So if the Dream push the pace like they like to, I just don't see McCowan playing those big minutes. So they'll have to rotate Lavender, Breland, and our girl Hattar. So I definitely like her. As far as anyone else on this team, I'm not even going to bore you guys. Tiffany Mitchell, Kelsey Mitchell, Vivians, they're not in play. And that sucks because the Dream can't play defense. So somebody in this, Fever backcourt is going to score and score a lot. But they're really only GPP plays for me. I can't really recommend using any of them in your optimal single entry and cash line. So Pete, what say you about the Fever?
I know. And I keep waiting for McCowan to develop into this superstar, like the face of the franchise. And I mean, with her size, you would think that they want to give her that larger role, and she just doesn't. I mean, she's averaging 14 points, 13 rebounds. But she's only, her minutes are actually down right from the first game. Yeah. So that's my problem with her. And I was all excited. I played her game 1. She had a good game against New York, and I was back. I mean, you would think though, Breland and Lavender there, I mean, they're solid, but they don't have the size. They don't have the size of McGowan. She still can't get it done. So she's more of a GVP play because, of course, she could definitely go off and like she did the first game in certain matchups and give us 35, 40 points, fantasy points. But my play actually is private of all this, and it's probably more of a GVP play, is Danielle Robinson, because when she actually looked really good at the beginning of that Connecticut game when they jumped out to that lead. I mean, she was playing really aggressive, getting to the bucket, but then the whole team they just disappeared. I mean, the turnovers are crazy. They couldn't hit shots, but she would be the one play that I would be interested in is Robinson, and possibly maybe Kelsey Mitchell. I mean, she was playing a little bit of confidence too at the beginning of that game, and then it's like the whole team self-destructed. So just Robinson and Kelsey Mitchell, and that's pretty much pretty much it. I want to play McGowan, but you just can't.
Yeah, the price is tough. All right, next game, New York Liberty versus Washington Mystics. The Liberty are started out hot, 3-0. There's a lot of excitement. You know, the Knicks are playing well during the playoffs, and that's, of course, a lot of, you know, basketball is back in New York. And that's exciting. So Liberty getting a lot of hub here. Sabrina Ionescu is a machine. Triple-double recently, her first of her WNBA career, and only her 6th game. So she's hot right now. The Mystics are very bad. In 2 games so far, the Mystics are only generating 63 points per game. That's the lowest in the league. I know it's early, but without Elena Deladon and Maisha Hines-Allen, they have looked horrific. So they'll definitely need, once they get back, you know, they may turn things around. They both were projected to miss the first 2 games, which they have. I don't have an update on either as far as how tomorrow's going to go. It sounds like MHA is definitely not going to play, and EDD has a chance. So we'll definitely update you guys in the Discord when that goes through tomorrow, and in the article in the morning when it pops out. It's a big difference because if they play, especially EDD against the Liberty, we know the Liberty, even with Kaya Stokes back, their front court is very, you know, piss poor. They don't defend well. We saw McCowan tear them up in that first game, and every, you know, big since has really done well against them. So the EDD would certainly, you know, assault them quite well if she does play. Tina Charles, especially too, at 9.5. That's a little underpriced for her. I think at this point she should probably be over 10K. So on the first game against Chicago, she didn't really play that well, but against the Mercury in the blowout loss, she had 22 and 12 for 44 fantasy points. So she's really should be over 10K all the time in Liberty. She was over 10K. She's a big time scorer. So I like her here against the Liberty, even without EDD. You know, it's relevant to us if they win or lose, but she's going to play a lot of minutes and have to, you know, get all the low court touches. Ariel Atkins has kind of struggled. She's there at 8.4. She's, you know, hovered around 20 fantasy points. She was probably one of the more improved players last year, had career highs in points, assists, and rebounds. So far, she started out kind of flat. Natasha Cloud is back for them, which is a big deal. She's kind of been under the radar, priced at 8.2. You know, no one's really talking about her, but she's taken 22 shots in 2 games. She's averaging right around 27 fantasy points, and she's doing it quietly. At this rate, with how high scoring slates are, you need almost all your spots to score over 30 fantasy points, except for, you know, in value spots, you can get 20. So you really like to see her put that up a little higher at this price of 8.2, but definitely a safe option if you need to go there. And then as far as value at 5.9, Erica McCall kind of missed the boat on the first slate where she scored 20, but then I had some exposure against the Mercury at 3.8, and she scored another 20 fantasy points. So she's getting significant minutes, 22 and 24. However, when MHA and EDD return, obviously that's probably going to dip. So if those two are out again, you can definitely look at McCall at 5.9. She's rebounding the ball well, almost 7 rebounds per game. And like I just mentioned, the Liberty have a real issue trying to keep people off the glass. They're giving up a crap ton of rebounds. Pretty much everyone they face. Who on this Mystic squad might interest you, Pete?
I mean, of course, Tina Charles. I mean, it's not surprising, but she's the team's go-to scoring option right now with ED out. She 18 points, 9 rebounds in 2 games. I mean, she's actually had a pretty tough go at it. She's had to guard Candace Parker. She's had to guard Brittany Griner in the paint. And she's actually, I think, the only player scoring double figures against Chicago. So she's definitely in play. I mean, she's shown it 9.5. I think it's pretty much that's where she should be. In Natasha Cloud, I mean, she's right now, it looks like she's like the undisputed leader of this team from what I'm seeing with DDB out, and she just needs to create some more opportunities, I guess, for the players. She had a poor shooting night the first game. She had 8 points, but then she came back at 18 the next game. So I like Cloud, especially that price at 8.2. I'd probably take Cloud over Charles. I mean, the 2 positions, but like in a utility spot, I would probably take the Cloud at 8.2.
Yeah, I like that call. As far as the Liberty go, Natasha Howard has now they did cut Laisha Clarendon, which was a surprise for many. A lot of people thought they were going to cut the rookie Dee Richards, but she's just gives them a little bit more than what Clarendon does. Clarendon's a really good player, former All-Star. But this positionless 3-point shooting squad that Coach Walt Hopkins has them, mirroring from the NBA doesn't fit her style. So they did cut her. Somebody will pick her up. The Natasha Howard is going to be back. It sounds like there's very close to being back. There's potential for her to play tomorrow. slash today, whenever you're watching this. So watch out for that. When they get Howard back, their defense is instantly going to be upgraded. We're seeing tonight with the Storm struggling. Howard would her defense was locked down in the paint. She would always handle the other team's opposing best bigs. Stewart's having to do that now, guarding fouls and whatnot. And we're seeing it's starting to affect Stewie a little bit. So Howard's, can't be understated how good of a job she does on defense. So as soon as she gets back, she'll be inserted into the lineup. She's only 8'3" if she does play against this Mystic squad that is giving up the third most rebounds in the league so far, 43. Liberty are right behind at 40.3. So there's a lot of rebounds going to be available. Howard could have a big game there instantly at 8'3". So keep an eye on her. If she's not back, you have Kaya Stokes at 6'2". Kylie Shook at 5'5". Shook still started last game, but Stokes, she got eased in, played 11 minutes. I would expect Stokes to be back in the starting lineup soon or until Howard is available. Obviously, Sabrina Ionescu, they priced her way up. She's 11-2. She's probably must play even at that price. They need to get her even closer to 12K probably. Just had the 26, 10, 12 triple-double. The first game, she had 25, 6, 11, nearly a triple-double then. Her worst game was 12, 5, 4. So you're seeing the pattern that she's going to contribute in all stats. Doesn't get blocks or steals much. Still a good defender, even though she doesn't generate steals, but she is the undisputed, leader. Her usage rate is extremely high. Marcus Howard level. I always reference Marcus Howard. He played college basketball because his was always in the 40%. It's just amazing what she's doing. She's playing almost 38 minutes a game. There's just no room for Clarendon, so she had to go. So Ionescu at 11-2. You're gonna want to find a way to fit her. With Tiffany Hayes being 6K, that's a great way to do it. Hatar at 5'1". There's some other options here on Connecticut we're going to talk about because of an injury to one of their players. So we do have the value necessary to make it work. And then I always loved Najaya Laney. She didn't do as well the last game, got under 30 fantasy points, but she's a real good scorer. She's been rocking up fantasy or prize picks for us. They've been having her like 19, 17, and she keeps hitting 20 to 30. So she actually has 70 points, real points in her last 3 games. So I love Laney. Good GPP play. You want to play Ionescu over her in your cash games. Pairing them is not a horrific idea, but you probably won't have the salary to do that. But yeah, she's a really good player. She's going to be one of the top scorers in the league by far. Then you have players, Anyuere, Whitcomb, Rebecca Allen's back. So there's some decent secondary options here, but they all kind of just cannibalize each other, 18 to 20 minutes, whereas Laney and Ionescu are really the only two that are playing over 30 minutes. Sammy Whitcomb did play 35 last game, but before that, she was in the mid-20s. So I just don't know that Sammy will continue to play 30+. If she does, she's a great play at 7-2. So that is something to keep in mind there, especially for GPPs. But that's pretty much where I'm at. Sabrina, this is a good game to target these first two. Defense will be lack in both. So Sabrina, maybe some Laney, Howard if she plays. And then, like I said, if you think Whitcomb will play, 30 minutes again, if Howard doesn't play, yeah, I'd be okay with playing Sammy Whitcomb. So what do you think here? How much New York do you want?
I actually like New York, and you just brought up Whitcomb with like Lyshia Clarendon was put on waivers. They're actually down a point guard now, right? So I'm assuming Whitcomb is going to continue to get a little bit of burn. So, of course, I'm going to try everything I can to get her in my lineup one way or another. The one player I'm really impressed with, and I actually did a little bit of digging before we came on, is Kaylee Shook. And for one thing, I like her price at 5'5". And yeah, her minutes may go down, of course, if Howard does play. But all 3 games, she's actually played, I think, 28 minutes each game. And everything I was like going over and reading about her and Ionescu have this they're really close. Ionescu really depends on her a lot. I mean, she actually did really well against guards VFLs. And if you watch any of that game, I was actually watching some of the game before we came on. She had a lot to do with that triple double too. And I mean, she was a great rebounder. You can see the chemistry over the last 3 games is really building between the two of them. And of course, as the season goes on, they're going to get acclimated better. The main thing is, though, she's creating space for her so she can drain those 3-pointers. She's also boxing people out, closing out on all the closing out on the blocks. So allow people like Anushku and the rest of the black backcourt to get in, get some defensive rebounds. So I like this Kaylee Shook a lot. I think if she could continues to play 25, I think she definitely play there at that price. So it's even if Howard comes back, I think she's going to be definitely in play. I think she's kind of more into it.
Yeah. Sorry, cut out there a little bit. I don't know if it was me or you, but yeah, Kylie Shook and Kaya Stokes is going to be leaving for Eurobasket in mid-June to do some overseas stuff. You know, Olympics going on. There's lots of European. There's so much basketball this summer because of Olympics. So she's going to be leaving mid-June and even early June. So Kylie Shook's going to be in the mix for all season long. So that's a good call out. I like that. All right, next game. It should be a good one. Connecticut versus the Mercury. We did see these two teams face off already once, resulted in a Sun victory, 86-78. Jonquel Jones has been fantastic. You know, she opted out last year. There were some question marks about her potentially being rusty, but, you know, she played overseas during the off season. So, you know, won a championship over there. Clearly no rust. 41, 46, and 34. She has had a double-double in back-to-back games. She did starting with a triple-double last game at one point, 17, 11, and 5. But she's averaging 19 and 11 right now, which is just massive. 10.7K. She did, you know, one thing about Jonk in her career, and she's, you know, it's only been a couple of years, against bigger body players, she does tend to struggle a bit. She had 13 rebounds against the Mercury, so it wasn't as if she struggled per se, but she was held to 34 points, which just speaks to how good she is. You know, being held to 34 points, still great. If you really want to see her now at the price of 10-7, be hitting that 40 marker, you know, a lot more. I probably would lean towards DeWanna Bonner, who had by her standards, a really bad game against Indiana. She only played 24 minutes. It's a blowout. They didn't need her. They saved her. You know, Bonner always has to play 38, 39 minutes most of the time. So if they can get her, you know, saved up, they will. She will probably play 36 at least tomorrow and expect 45 fantasy points at minimum. Her price didn't come down. I was hoping it would have. DK was not fooled by her, you know, poor performance on only 24 minutes. So expect her to probably be fairly chalky even on a 4-game slate. Most people roster her in cash games up to the 70% mark. I've never seen her under 70 in cash yet. She's just way too good. Her floor is way too high. One player I am extremely interested in is Brianna Jones, who is now keeping herself out of foul trouble early. She's been picking up like 3 fouls in the first half for a couple games. But you see she's steadily going up from 18 to 24 to 26 fantasy points. And the good thing is she's taken double-digit shots in 3 straight, even with Jasmine Thomas back. The Bonner and Jonquel Jones show is good for the Sun. They can win a lot of games with those two, but they're going to burn out if somebody else doesn't step up. And Brianna Jones is somebody who, for the last 2 seasons, I've had pegged as somebody to watch. She really kind of broke out last year with Jonk, you know, opted out. Now that Alyssa Thomas is hurt and she has to be that third option, she's doing really well, averaging 11 and 6. So I like Brianna Jones. She's been too high priced, you know, over 9K. It's kind of coming down to 8-9 to a playable level. Still kind of a hard, you know, you'd like to see her down at 8K, but she's just so good now that she may never go down back to low 8K. So something to keep in mind. The player I referenced for being hurt for the Sun was Brianne January. She did get hurt in the last game, a very severe ankle injury. Sounds like she may be out for quite some time. So that will put back into the starting lineup Natisha Heidemann, she had 2 very productive starts. Jasmine Thomas returned. They started her over Heidemann. Heidemann came in when January got hurt and went nuts, scored almost 40 fantasy points. Back-to-back games over 30. She's priced at 7-8 right now, which makes me shudder even considering paying that. But she's breaking out. She's having a huge season, averaging 15 points, almost 32 fantasy points per game. The big thing is she's played 30 minutes or more in 3 straight. And against the Mercury, she had a really nice game, 17-2 with 4 steals. A lot of her value has come from steals, but with January out, and they're not really getting anything from Kayla Charles right now, I expect Heidemann to continue playing 30 to 32 minutes. So 7-8 is still semi-cheap if she's going to continue to produce like that. I like her much better than someone like Jasmine Thomas, who at 8-8 hasn't really been fantasy relevant for the last 2 seasons. She's a better real-life basketball player, and she used to put up big stats when the Sun made a title run a couple years ago, but she just hasn't really gotten it done recently. So I would much rather be on Heidemann, Bonner, and then probably leave Thomas and Jonquel Jones on the sidelines this time. And I like Brianna Jones. I'm still waiting for my girl Beatrice Montmere to get minutes. She's kind of the Ezzy Magdalor for me, you know, someone who's going to get minutes and be a big time star in the future. They're just not ready to put her there yet. She is priced at 4.9. If there's some foul trouble or whatnot, she will get more, but you're looking at a GPP value there at best at the moment. But there's a lot to like for this Sun team. Their fantasy production is very consistently on the same 3 or 4 players, and it's very easy to predict. Whereas the Mercury, they're a lot, I wouldn't say a lot deeper, but they do have production that's kind of spaced out. Brianna, Turner, Griner, Taurasi, Diggins Smith, Kia Nurse. They are going to be getting, I believe, Kia Vaughn back. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be the next game because she just arrived back in America. So I think she has to wait 9 straight days or something like that without a positive COVID test. So she's back, but I don't think she'll be quite to the level of being able to play just yet. So I'm still not a huge Mercury fan. Their prices are kind of never moving. They're still in that 9K range. For Griner, that's a pretty decent price of 9.4. She's actually been doing pretty well with lower ownership, averaging right around 35 fantasy points. So I'm okay with that against Jonk. She had a decent game against her last time. Kia Nurse at 7.2 is a decent price, but I'm mostly going to be on the Sun just because I feel pretty confident with them in predicting where the fantasy points are going to go. So how do you want to attack this game?
Yeah, that's always my problem with Phoenix too. They're all together. Taurasi, Griner, Turner. I love Diggins Smith, and she's the cheapest out of all of them, but it's just hard to pick out which one. And they're all, I guess they're all priced. So I don't usually play too many Phoenix players. And the one I'm definitely interested in is actually Natasha Heidman. When she looked really good when she came off the bench the other day, and she scored 19 points.
Yeah.
And I think that was a career high. They're saying, because with Brianne January and Thomas missing training camp, she was able to run the offense. So she got a lot of work in training camp running the offense. January out again. Heidman's going to step right in, and she's already third on team scoring. That's already coming off the bench, 15 points a game, shooting 45.5% from the floor, 42% 3-pointers. So she's my call right there, 7.8. I don't think she's going to see a lot. I don't think she's going to see a lot of ownership either, but she's kind of in that mid-range price. But Heidman is my favorite call there from the whole game, really. Do you want to play Jones? Of course, Brandon Jones is a great play, but there's so many other plays in that price range also. I'm over Heidman at 7.8. That's my play.
Yeah. And another thing to kind of, maybe shy away from the Mercury, the Sun in 3 games are holding opponents to just under 71 points, which is the third best mark. Their defense is, almost as good as the Lynx, which we're seeing tonight. So, just another reason to maybe back off the Mercury a little bit. I do like Brianna Turner, but her price is kind of high because she's also averaging a double-double of 10 and 11. So it's kind of hard to go there. But yeah, Heidemann, this may be the last time Heidemann's under 8K if she keeps producing like this. She's shown flashes in the past of being a very good offensive weapon, and they kind of feel like she might be like their next Courtney Williams. A couple of seasons ago when the Sun made that finals run, Courtney Williams kind of came out of nowhere. She'd always been kind of a middle tier player, and then she just exploded on the scene. That's kind of what Heidemann's trajectory is right now too. So I'm with you there, man. The guard spots are valuable, but I think she's worth, spending one on. If you did her, Hughes or Hayes, and maybe Sabrina, that would only allow you to, have enough salary to go up and get these forwards like Asia Wilson, who we're talking about in a second, Tina Charles, maybe Cambridge, so there's some good options there. Last game.
I do have a little interest in Kayla Charles at 4.2 for some reason, mainly because January is out.
That's a good point.
I don't know. What'd she get? She had played 18 minutes last game. The Phoenix game, she only played 5 minutes. But I think in January out, we may see 20 minutes out of her. And is she playing that great this year? No. But I remember her at Maryland, and she was good. So she didn't get a chance last year. She's almost cut short all the COVID stuff. So I don't know. Maybe it's a sneaky play or GPP play. But you guys are looking for some people down that price range anyway. So Kayla Charles, I think maybe all because of January being out though. But I don't know. Maybe
and Charles had some spot starts last year because the Sun get banged up all the time because they play the starter so long. And she did well in her spot starts. She had some 25 fantasy point games in there. So if she gets the minutes, definitely can produce. especially in this matchup. All right, and the last game on the slate here is the LA Sparks versus Las Vegas Aces. The Sparks have only played one game, so the Wings. It feels like we haven't seen them in a long time, and they somehow got obliterated by a Dallas Wings team that didn't even have Satu Sabale, their number 2 player, and they gave up 94 points. So, I feel like that's probably because the Sparks have all these new pieces. They're starting life without Candace Parker. They've got to get acclimated. But looking up and down their roster, I'm not as impressed with it as maybe as I thought I would be early on. And part of that's because I'm not a huge Christy Tolliver fan, and she's kind of a little. It's going to sound like a dick thing to say, but she's a little past her prime, right? She's up there in age. She's a great point guard. She's more of a leader, and I said that in the last one. We put the under on her in Prize Picks because she's just not going to be a player that has to put up fantasy points very often. She's going to defer to the other options, play there for her defense and her leadership, and try to lessen the blow of not having Chelsea Gray. I do like Brittany Sykes a lot, but I'm just looking up and down the Sparks roster, and yeah, it's kind of looking rough right now. They will not have Amanda Zowie B. She's listed as day-to-day, but I did see on Twitter earlier that she will miss this game. They could have really used her. So it's going to be all Nneka and Shanae Agumake. Last time we did a show, I think the Sparks were on that slate, and I said I'm not using Nneka. She struggled in the wubble. I know it's her. It's just her. I'm good, but I like the other forwards. The Griner and the McCowan. And then for some stupid reason, I played Nneka anyways, thinking I'd get cute. And of course, she gets up to 27 fantasy points. Admittedly, they got destroyed by Dallas, which had made no sense, and it was at home. So I think it was just a little shell shock that Dallas came out so hot and they were just flat-footed. But I have serious concerns about Nneka because this dates back even to last year in the wubble when she had Candace Parker and was struggling. Now it's her show, and she comes out still flat. So I may regret not using her in any capacity on this slate, but I'm going to take a wait and see with her. The price is nice at 9-1, but I just don't want to, I can't take any more 27, 28 fantasy point games from her. There's fine, but with how high scoring the slates are to start the season, you really need her up over 35. Shanae is, she played 27 minutes. She had the 25. Like they're good scores, and she's also almost 2K cheaper, so I'm fine with that. I think my favorite player on the team is probably just Brittany Sykes. I'm a big Brittany Sykes fan. She got paid this year after a big season last year. You look at that first game and you'll say, well, that's not a great score, but she's a big time stat sheet stuffer. She may only score 10 real points, but she'll get you, 25, 28 fantasy points with ease. That's typically her floor. So at 6'6", and she made us some good money last year in that price range. So anytime she's under 7K, she's definitely, somebody that I'm going to look at. Erica Wheeler was really cheap value. She came out flat, only 8 points. She was in foul trouble most of the game, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I also wouldn't be using her in my main lineup because the price has come up to 6-1 is what she should be, but still somebody to look at for your GPP player pool because, she was a leading scorer for Indiana a couple years ago. She was an all-star game MVP a couple years ago. She definitely has that talent and can do some damage. And then Taya Cooper, she's, they have all these guards now. Cooper was another player that I thought was going to take a big step this year, but looking at their roster, there's so many guards on the roster that I probably can't use her right now. But at 5'2", she is somebody to kind of keep your eye on as well. But it's just like I said, nobody on this particular roster really excites me all that much. I definitely would look at the Aces side of things. Starts with Asia Wilson, who is just crushing it. They had the 2 games against Seattle where they got spanked by them in one game, and then they spanked them back. But in both games, Asia was well over 38 fantasy points. So I have no doubt about using her with the value available on the slate. If we go cheaper at guard, like it sounds like we can with Heidemann and Hayes, we can ride with Asia pretty easily. Liz Cambridge is back as well. There was some talk about Cambridge, Asia's stats are going to go down. They didn't really go down at all this year, and they didn't when they played together last 2 years ago. Cambridge looked really good in her last game. She is on a minutes cap. They will not play her over 25 minutes. You see she's only played 22 and 19. They're just capping her right now. She did come off a serious injury overseas before, so they're just kind of playing her light. But you look at her, she's putting up stats, almost 31 fantasy points a game while playing only 20 minutes a game. It's pretty solid. Chelsea Gray, revenge game. If you believe in those kind of narratives, I know I do more than Pete and everybody else. That the point guard, as they call her, she's only 8'5". I typically don't like using her unless it's a GPP because she's got a very low floor at times. But it is a revenge game. She'll want to show out. Jackie Young. Let's talk about Jackie Young. This is a play I'm very interested in as well at 8-1. Again, all these guard slots that we like, we only have 3, so it's going to be hard. But she had 42 against Seattle, and I think she's going to start really kind of coming into her own now. Kelsey Plum is on that temporary suspended list. We talked about that the other day when that was going to happen. She's going to be playing 3-on-3 in the Olympic qualifying. So Jackie Young doesn't have to worry about Plum coming in and playing minutes. And it's not like she was anyways. She's been playing over 30 minutes in both games, and I would expect that to continue. So 8-1 is a little higher than maybe you'd like to start with her, but if she's going to be producing these big stats, and I think she will continue, I'm definitely a big fan of hers. Rakana Williams should probably see closer to 30 minutes without Plum. She's more of just a shooter, though. And then, of course, De'Erica Hamby, who's their super sub off the bench. She's one of those ones you'll get lucky with once in a while, player in a GPP. She's capable of putting up 40, but with Liz Cambridge around, I just don't think she's going to do that very often. So probably not worth using, even though the 7-7 price on her is solid. For me, I think it's Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, and Liz Cambridge in that order. So there should be a marquee game if the Sparks can, look like show signs of life here. And I think they will eventually once they get their team gelled. What do you think is going to happen with this game, and who do you like?
Yeah, I'm over Jackie Young, definitely. I mean, that was a career game the other day. 21 points, 10 rebounds. I mean, the Princeton legend. She's my favorite play from that side. Definitely, especially the price at 8-1. So I could see Jackie Young even be in my main lineup. Now, is Kelsey Plum definitely on? See, I'm seeing this tomorrow's her last game before she goes to the Olympic, the 3-on-3. I'm not sure.
Everyone else she's playing with has been suspended and out. So let's see. You might be right because I know
she's she's been first off the bench, but I'm saying she may be missing 6 games.
Yeah, I thought the Storm game that they last played was her last, but you might be right. I'll have to look into that because I thought she was out now.
I could be wrong too. So I had some interest in her at first when I was looking at the pricing, and I realized she's playing that 3-on-3 tournament next week, and I was trying to figure out when she's leaving. So it's not that big. That could be wrong. So but definitely Jackie Young.
So the report that is out right now says obviously Angel McCoughtry out at right ACL, Kelsey Plum out with 3-on-3. So she should be out.
Okay.
And then there's a blurb here that says Bill Lambier says Jackie Young could move to the ball some more, navigate the offense, and run the second unit without Plum. So she could be playing some huge minutes. Like she's already playing 30. We might be seeing like 35, 36 from her tomorrow.
And that's what even draws Jackie Young spending and beyond. So like most, of course, I mean, they're all in play. Images in play, definitely. You're going to pay 9-3. I mean, possibly I'd rather play Cambridge over Chelsea Gray though. So it's mostly Jack Young, and I totally agree with you. My SU girl from Syracuse, Brittany Sykes, and a lot of people go by her because again, she's not going to put huge points, but she's a stat stuffer. And the last game, 18 assists, 2 steals, 2 rebounds. She got a block shot in, so she had close to like 20 DK points, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So definitely roll out Brittany Sykes at 6'6". That's a nice price too. It allows you maybe to get another decent expensive piece.
Yeah. See, I wish.
I mean, she's
a starter.
Yeah, she's been around a few years, but I think you're going to start seeing this. I mean, she's going to start coming her own now. And I'm not saying she's going to be a superstar, but she's going to be a nice, decent, role player for this team. And give me 20. I'll take 20 DK points for her anytime.
Yeah, and they paid her. They didn't give her the max, but they gave her like the semi-max, so they're expecting her to produce. Again, this is where I wish Tiffany Hayes was listed as a forward because we've got Jackie Young, Tiffany Hayes, Sabrina, of course, Sykes. And Heidemann, that's 5 guards that we like, but 3 slots to put them in. So it may be worth running multiple lineups on this slate. It's the first time all season where I felt like, yeah, I might want to run more than just one because I want exposure to multiple players here. So with that being said, who's your favorite forward and favorite guard of the slate?
You got to put me on a spot. Let me call my players up again. So I mean, I want to say Jackie Young, especially with Plum out. I think Jackie Young's probably my favorite play. It's more of a sneaky play. So I mean, I'll take her as a guard, and then as a forward, probably I can't say I can say Sykes, I guess, right? I mean, she's not going to be probably my favorite when it's all said and done is, man, I don't.
Forward's tough, man. Forward is tough every night usually.
Maybe Tina Charles.
That's a good one. I think that's a good one. She's reasonably priced too. If Howard's out, yeah, I think Charles will. And it's a revenge game for her. She'll want to show out against her former team.
Yeah.
That's a very good call. I like that. For me, I think the guard play, I'm leaning towards Tiffany Hayes. It's really going to be a tough decision between those 5 guards that we just listed. So I think my top guard play is Tiffany Hayes because at 6K, she played relatively bad. She shot bad. People are going to be off her. So I'll get her at probably like sub 20%. But still 10 shots is 10 shots, whether she made them or not, those will start falling. And then at forward, it's really tough. Every night forward is like, man, I don't know, forward. I think I'll lean Liz Cambridge because she's still cheap at the 9-3 price point. She's only going to play 20, 22 minutes, but she just give me that 30, 35 at the 9-3 and I'll move on. So that may change when I release the article here tomorrow. I really want Asia Wilson, but I didn't want to be, I don't want to be the guy that's like, yeah, my favorite play is the top play on the top price on the salary. So it's probably Asia, honestly, but I'll take Liz Cambridge. It's definitely one of the Vegas centers or bigs because I don't have any faith in the Sparks right now, even though it's been one game. There's the stuff I'm reading. Derek Fisher's kind of an asshole. I got to cuss for a second. He did that stuff with Candace Parker in the playoffs some years back, where he benched her inexplicably, and his players and him fight a lot, and then they get back together and they're fine. So you can actually hit them when they're in one of their moods and where they're just going to lay down basically. And I almost feel like that's what happened against the Dallas Wings at home. So until I see them turn it around and Nneka, become the 40 plus fantasy point scorer that we know she can be, I might be picking on them a lot lately. So definitely going to be rolling at least 2 aces, I think, in my main lineup. So
I like the Tiffany. I like the Tiffany Hayes call. That's the call of the day, the sneaky call, and just my sleeper is Shook from New York too at 5-5.
Yeah, and we may, you could roll out like Hayes, Heidemann, and Jackie Young, and you may get, none of them might even be over 20%. And that's a nice thing. It's a 4-game slate, so it'll be spread out. We know Sabrina is going to be 60 plus in cash. So you run the risk if you don't run Sabrina of getting just pile driven. So I would probably, if you're going to run cash or single entry, I would probably say don't fade her because if she puts up 60 again, you're not going to win. But definitely if you're running some GPPs, a Heidemann, Hayes, Jackie Young guard trio would actually be pretty high upside, especially if Sabrina has one of those games where she's in foul trouble or, she puts up less than 40, then you'll have a big edge on the field. And Dewana Bonner, who is always high owned too, is out there. So there's a shit ton of guards. It's always that way. It's last year it seemed like there was a lot more playable forwards for some reason. I think it's because EDD, Parker, Hines Allen, all these big forwards have been hurt a lot, so they haven't been available to us. Because right now, guards, I want to play, 6 guards. I don't want to play any of these forwards if I can help it. So maybe I'll get a hold of somebody at DK and try to get them to switch Tiffany Hayes to a forward or something. But yeah, it's a good slate. I feel good about it. Prize Picks is not up yet. We're running really good on that. Like I said, 17-3, so we'll have that. There is a 4-game slate on Monday and next Friday. So because of that, maybe we'll try to get something rolled out for Sunday, a live show of sorts. And once baseball's not going to be slowing down anytime soon, but when you have those smaller slates, we'll definitely get together and do some more WNBA stuff. TBT's coming up, Olympics, lots going on. So I always appreciate you jumping on here with me, Pete. I know you're doing all these other sports and you kind of burn the candle at both ends, but you're the best at it, so we appreciate it.
No problems. Good time. Tomorrow's a good slate. 4 games. Good way to start the weekend.
Yes, sir. If you're not in the premium room, you may want to consider it. There was some late scratches yesterday with Candace Parker from Chicago Sky. We posted that in the premium room. People were able to pivot off of there. If you're not in there and you missed that information, that's going to be a big detriment to you. A lot of times these injured players late still have ownership. So I would really encourage you to get on board with the premium with us. Sign that up. It gets you access to all sports. Prize Picks, we're making a big push there. And of course, Pete does daily either Discord or live streams for MLB. the MLB grind is long, but lots of money to be made. So appreciate everybody who tuned in live or on demand. Thank you to our producer, Mr. Maffa. He is one of the best that there is. Pete, as always, take care, guys. Best of luck, and we'll be in the Discord talking to you tomorrow.